She secretly followed Madame Abenotu, because she wanted to find out where Abenotu is always going to at the early hours of the morning, and she was surprised at what she found. Madame Abenotu was a popular food vendor at the village market of Ojo Apita in Ilorin. Her food was legendary, whispered about in every corner of the town. People came from far and wide to eat her food. Sometimes, when there are so much customers at Madame Abenotu's store, all the dishes will be left dirty and unattended to. Then, people will line up to wash their dishes before they can get served at the store. Madam would tell them, "Make sure you wash your plates. Wash the plates and bring them before I serve you. If you come with a dirty plate, I will not serve you." And you will see the customers consistently running to wash their dishes just to have a taste of Madame Abenotu's tasty meal. Madame Abi, as they all call her, with her imposing figure and sharp eyes, ruled over her kitchen like a queen. Her dishes were truly delicious. You can never have a taste of Madame Abenotu's meal without coming back the next day. But there was a mystery that surrounded her restaurant. A secret that piqued the curiosity of her colleagues, because they wondered why Abenotu's restaurant was always crowded with customers, to the extent that they will have to line up and even wash their own dishes before they get served. Whenever Madame Abenotu is cooking, there's a particular pot she is very strict about. She will warn all her staffs not to open that pot, and whenever she's cooking, she stands in front of that pot or sits close to that pot, just to make sure that nobody opens the pot. Only Madame Abenotu opens and closes that particular pot. More so, every day there's a particular place Abenotu always visits before daybreak. Another food vendor that sells food on the same street where Madame Abenotu restaurant is located, decided to find out what exactly Abenotu does to attract customers, because she no longer makes sales, as all her customers have gone to Madame Abenotu's store. Nobody visits her restaurant anymore. She was told by one of Madame Abenotu's staff that Abenotu is always standing in front of a particular pot whenever that pot is on the fire, and that she always leaves early hours of the morning to a particular place and comes back before daybreak. So, this food vendor decided to find out what exactly and where exactly Madame Abenotu visits. The next day, she secretly followed Madame Abenotu, just to ensure that she discovers where she always visits in the morning. Unfortunately, she failed, because all of a sudden, she lost track of Madame Abenotu's movement and therefore gave up. Madame Abenotu restaurant continued to flourish and boom, with more and more customers coming from east, west, north, and south just to have a taste of her meal. The demand of customers became higher, and she needed more hands at the restaurant. So she employed a young girl called Enitan. Enitan was an intelligent, smart, curious, and determined young woman who just got a job at Madame Abenotu restaurant. On the day she resumed, Madame Abenotu strictly warned her, just as she has always warned the other staff of that particular pot, that she should not go close to that pot and she should not open that pot. One day Enitan asked one of the staffs at the restaurant why Madame Abenotu always gave a strict warning not to open that pot. And her colleague said, "I don't know, ever since I've been working in this restaurant nobody dares to open this pot. So please Enitan, in order not to look for Madame Abenotu's trouble, don't try to go close or open her pot." Enitan became more curious and wondered what exactly was inside that pot that forbid Aya Fizeo from allowing anyone to open the pot. She asked herself, what exactly is she hiding in that pot that is so precious? I am Enitan and I must find out what exactly is in that pot. One day, Enitan almost opened the pot, but Madame Abenotu caught her and was very angry at Enitan. She seriously warned her not to ever come close again. This did not stop Enitan's curiosity. She was this kind of girl that is determined to find out something if she puts her mind to it. Enitan discovered that there's a particular place Madame Abinotu visits every morning, and she decided to follow her secretly to find out where she is always going to. Enitan was shocked and surprised as to what she has just discovered. She just found out where Madame Abinotu always visited, but she decided not to say a word because she still needs to find out what exactly is in that pot that Madame Abinotu always covers. "My name is Enitan," she said, "and I always find anything I want to find." One busy day at the restaurant, Enitan was thinking of a way to distract Madame Abinotu from the front of this pot, and then she quickly went to Abinotu and started shouting, "Madam, the shop is on fire, come and see, the shop is on fire." Out of fear, Madame Abinotu was shocked and was distracted and quickly hurried to the front of the shop to see the fire outbreak, forgetting the pot on the fire. Immediately, Enitan seized the opportunity. She tiptoed to the pot, her heart was trembling, her hands were shaking, but brave Enitan lifted the lid, expecting to find a treasure of culinary wonders. What she saw made her scream in horror. Instead of delicious dishes, the pot contained a liquid dark and ominous blood boiling inside the pot. Enitan started shouting. The commotion drew everyone's attention, and soon, the entire restaurant was staring at the open pot of blood boiling on the fire. Madame Abinotu returned, her eyes started narrowing as she took in the scene. Then she realized that she has been caught, and she started confessing. Interruptedly, Enitan had already started narrating how she discovered that Madame Abinotu always visited a mortuary, where she gets liquid used in washing dead bodies to cook her meal. Adding that, she also visited a native doctor who always gives her a substance to pour into that pot that turns into blood, and the more the blood boiled on the fire, the more the customers. As the blood is boiling, so are customers trooping in and out of the restaurant. Madame Abinotu started narrating how she started the food business at the initial stage, and how there was no sales. She said that sometimes she will come to the shop and for 2 days she won't make sales, and all her food will get spoiled and wasted. Emphasizing she really needed money to take care of her children, so she decided to go diabolical. Madame Abinotu further explains that she uses water used in washing body remains, coupled with the boiling blood from the native doctor, to cook, just to ensure she starts making sales. Apparently, she has been making a lot of sales. The villagers were so mad at Madame Abinotu after listening to her confession, because she has been poisoning them with mortuary water and deadly blood. They began chasing her with the intention of hurting her. Suddenly, she ran into the evil forest. Until date, nobody knows where Madame Abinotu is. They destroyed her restaurant, thanked Enitan for her bravery and courage because, if not for her, nobody would have known the source of Madame Abinotu's delicious meals, neither would they have known that they have actually been feeding on mortuary water. That was how the story of Madame Abinotu the food vendor ended. Henceforth, the people of Oja Apita, in Ilorin became very conscious of how they eat and where they eat. Likewise, to you watching this story, be very cautious of where you eat because you never can tell how that meal was made. Thank you so much for watching my story. I still remain your best plug on African folktale stories. If you haven't followed me yet, kindly support me by clicking on the like, follow and notification button. This will enable you to receive more captivating tales like this and more.